20 years ago, we were on the cusp of a new era, one with more freedom and less fear. In late summer 1988, I went to Ukraine, part of what was then the Soviet Union, to take part in a peace walk. We traveled from Odessa to Kiev, walking through tiny villages that would explode with people who came out to see the Americans in our tented campgrounds. The goal of the walk was to promote peace through person-to-person contact, unfettered by politics. I was there for a month, with 460 other Americans and Soviets marching through the countryside, carrying banners, discussing politics, giving out autographs, and eating watermelons. We were acting like diplomats trying to end the Cold War. We didn't know that success, at least for a time, was right around the corner. In September 2008, in preparation for a return to Russia, I tried to contact some friends I had made. I called 20-year-old phone numbers and dug up friends with whitepages.com. I contacted the president of the 1988 Peace Walk. I sent a fan letter to members of the band that was with us on the walk. I called people in Arizona, Seattle, California, Iowa, and Pennsylvania. I touched on any American Peace Walk veterans I knew. I also joined Odnoklassniki, a Russian social networking site. I ordered searches for the names of walkers that appear in my battered walker directory that I've been carrying around for 20 years. With the click of a mouse, it was simple to send over 300 messages to people who happened to have the same name as people who were on the walk. I achieved a couple tepid contacts, but I didn't find any of my buddies. In October, my visa was ready, and it was time for my trip. The first person I tried to find was Misha. I found his 20-year-old address and pushed the button on the outdoor intercom. When a woman answered, I said in my halting Russian, "Это James Martin. Я ищу Misha Ivanov." "James from Ames?" she said. "Come in." It was Lena, another peace walker. She had been Misha's girlfriend on the walk. I had finished my degree at Iowa State University in Ames, Iowa, 1 week before the walk in 1988. How she could have recognized my voice and remembered who I was after 20 years of no contact is still a mystery. I was thrilled with relief and excitement. To tell the truth, I wasn't optimistic that I would find anyone. She greeted me at her door holding their 6-week-old son. 5 minutes later, I was sitting at their dinner table. Lena said, "This is the legacy of such peace walks. You show up at our door after 20 years with no warning, and the next thing, you are sitting down eating borscht and holding my kid." As expected, we did some reminiscing. Lena remembered the first day of the peace walk.
We, the Soviet delegation, was brought to the Odessa airport to meet our American co-workers in this Soviet-American peace walk. And it was late at night. We were waiting for 3 hours or something. And I remember how the plane was landed. And finally, we both met at this huge field of the airport. And I remember that people come from the plane and we could see all the delegation on the field. And then slowly, two crowds come closer to each other. And then some people, they started to run to each other, like old relatives who didn't see each other for a long time.
During the walk, we talked about nuclear weapons and disarmament, but the coolest thing was the people. The friends I made during that month were immediately like family. One day, I wore a red bandana around my neck. I'm not sure why I did it. I think it may have been a desire to support a persona that would allow me to be more of a cowboy instead of just a tractor driver from Iowa. The next day, Ivan, Artyom, and Misha, Lena's future husband, appeared wearing similar red bandanas that we all wore every day for the rest of the month as a sign of brotherhood. After returning from the walk, I was too busy with my life to understand how amazing my experiences were. As a 22-year-old youngster, I didn't realize the awesome power of the winds of fate that led an Iowa farm boy to pal around with the residents of Moscow skyscrapers. Lena also views with sadness the erosion of interest between people of these two former enemies.
I really missed the time when people from our countries just started to get to know each other. Even right after the Cold War ended, they were very open-minded and they want to learn more, they want to understand each other. But now the situation is quite different. People become more ignorant. If you come today to the United States and say, "Hey, I am from Russia," nobody really care. And it's the same here. When you are in Moscow and say, "Hello, I am American," nobody interested. And the bad thing is that people think that they know everything, but they don't know nothing.
In 1988, we were guests at typically Soviet meetings, and many of us were able to make speeches. Imagine Americans making speeches in the Soviet Union. I wanted to give at least a bit of my speech in Russian, so I asked Ivan how to say that we had been treated like royalty. Confused, he asked, "Why do you want to say that? You are treated like friends." Around the dinner table, Lena and I naturally spent some time discussing politics. I wondered how things had changed between our two countries.
Me, I love American people. I have many good friends among them. But quite often nowadays, because of the politics, because of the mass media, I hear from people things like, well, I don't like Americans. I don't believe they're smart people. They don't have anything really interesting. They don't have culture. They just have McDonald's. I don't like them.
Russians are steeped in their culture. Everyone has read Dostoevsky and Chekhov, and they can quote poetry by Pushkin. The reputation of Americans is that we are shallow and uncivilized. When the truth comes to light, however, people who hold these opinions are not well informed.
I always ask the speaker, wow, interesting. Have you ever been to United States? How many people from United States do you know? And usually the answer, no, I never been to United States and I don't want to go there. I don't have any American friends. I don't think we can become friends. So people, those who hate Americans, most often they don't know anything about them. And I think it's the same about vice versa, about Russian people in America. People who don't like us, mostly they don't know anything.
From my time as a peace walker, I learned that people get along fine. It's when the governments get involved that things turn sour. Anatoly, another peace walker from 1988, felt the same way.
You must separate the relationship between the government and the relationship between people. Between people, it's always good. Americans are warm, friendly people. Russians also like to make friends. The peace walk that we did showed that the people do not have to be controlled by politics.
I hadn't met Anatoly during the walk. I got his phone number from friends in Pennsylvania. His biggest concerns about the U.S. touched on our government's propensity to export its opinions and point of view.
I like the American people, but I don't like the internal politics that transpire in America. That led America to the war in Iraq. I don't like it that America wants everyone to see the world from their own point of view, their own way of life. I think that is what leads people to say that they don't want to go to America. But that is from people who do not know America, because America has wonderful nature, wonderful people. Political people are separate.
When I asked about our peace walk, Anatoly was nostalgic for that time in history.
It was great. It was a romantic period in the relationship between our countries. People could make an impact. Now, there is no way to have such a trip because right now it is easy for people to travel between the two countries. At that time, we were the first people to come in contact. Therefore, it was a surprising trip, a surprising event.
The peace walk in 1988 was certainly surprising, if not miraculous. We may even have helped swing the hammer that drove nails into the coffin that surrounds the Cold War. Our small effort reminded me of a story. A man was throwing starfish back into the sea from a beach littered with such animals after they had been washed there by an unusual surf. A man walking by says, "Surely you can't think you are going to make a difference. There are thousands of starfish here." The first man answers, "Makes a difference to this one," as he throws another one out to sea. Citizen diplomacy. Every little bit makes a difference somewhere.